All right, what's going on, friends and family? Thank you guys so much for joining. Every day's a Saturday with your host, me, myself, and I, Brian Roof. Hey guys, another great day, another great episode. I thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch the show. All the likes, all the messages I have gotten. The show is definitely, moving in the right direction, and I can't thank you guys enough for being a part of that growth and just, watching me grow. I know, it's probably not the easiest thing always watching just me on here, and I really appreciate the ones that have stuck it out and watching me grow, and I'm trying to get better as I go on and get rid of a lot of, filler words and stuff like that, so you aren't sitting there getting bored to death. But let's go ahead and talk about a couple things. I don't want to, get on this show without mentioning May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And a couple, key things. One is the crisis lifeline number, which is 988. And all you got to do is press 1, and it's going to put you in touch with someone who you can talk to discreetly about your, whatever's going on. Don't be afraid to reach out. There's also something I thought was pretty cool. It's called a Retreat Behavioral Health, Mental Health and a Substance Use Treatment for Veterans and First Responders. You can go ahead and Google that and go check that out if you want to, if you're interested in maybe doing a little bit like a retreat thing where you kind of get with a whole bunch of, people that are kind of going through a lot of the same things you may be going through, especially from a veteran or a first responder standpoint. And it's, sounds like it's a good place. I read a lot about it. It seems pretty interesting. With that being said, if you guys haven't had the chance to go check out my Facebook page, it is, every day is a Saturday /USMC veteran. Go check out the page. That page is a fun page for, for you, the listeners, just, anybody go on there, have some funny, jokes, memes, also, post important information, upcoming events, especially, for veterans and first responders. But anybody is welcome to come in there and post if you're, a fan of the show. I would love for you guys to be in there, and it's one way for us to be able to interact. If you have any kind of questions, I can, assist you or answer the question myself. But without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and get into today's episode 23, Dealing and Living with a Stepson with Autism. Stand by. All right. Today's episode is episode 23, Dealing and Living with a Stepson with Autism. All right, guys. So as some of you may know, if you have been following the show up to this point and you've watched the previous episodes, you will know that I had gotten remarried. I married a beautiful wife who was my diamond in the rough, and she had 3 boys, and the middle one being an autistic little dude. So when I first met him, Jude is his name, he was about 4 years old, and I was completely new to dealing and experiencing with, anything with autism. I had, heard about autism and stuff like that, but never had I really had anybody in my life, or had I dealt with someone that was on the spectrum, with autism. So, it was kind of a very new and unique situation for myself, to say the least. I was blessed with 2 kids that, didn't have any kind of disabilities, thank God. And, so I wasn't used to having some, a kid that had different ailments or, needed help in certain areas, as he's gotten older and stuff like that. So it was definitely, a whole new thing for me. Also, when I first met my wife, and I had learned that she had a child with disabilities and stuff like that, the thought had to, go through your mind, and you have to think, wow, is this something that I can deal with for the rest of my life? Because, you know, he's likely to live with us for, through his adult life and stuff like that. And as, going into that situation, I have to think to myself, am I ready to handle that and all the things that come with it? And also, there's a big learning curve on how to, deal or live with someone with autism, because it's not, normal, as like it is for every other kid, um, with a lot of different things in his life. But when I first met Jude, he was at a level where he didn't like keeping his clothes on his body. He liked to stay kind of in his undies. And he liked to carry around a little sippy cup. And he was on Pediasure because he hated food when I first came into his life. I mean, the sight of anything remotely like looking like food, especially stuff that was white for whatever reason, he would literally gag on point when he would see these different food items on his plate. Like, oh hell no, I ain't touching that. So when I first came into his life, that was kind of new to me. Like, wow, here's a little guy. He's just walking around with his little undies, and he has like a little sippy cup, and he's just like smiley, and he doesn't talk at all. He would just, he just he smiles and laughs a lot, and he does a lot of flapping and things of that nature. But when I first met him, it was like, wow, dude, like I'm just like, I'm not used to this different lifestyle. And I can remember one of the first times that we took the kids, because my daughter was playing soccer. We took them all to watch my daughter's soccer game. Well, Jude and some of the older kids were over at the park playground, like right behind us, playing in the playground. And I remember like one of the kids or someone pointing out like, "Hey, Dad, Jude's not got his clothes on." And I look over and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And sure as heck, I see that he's not wearing his clothes. He's down to his undies, and there's other kids on the playground, and a lot of kids are obviously at this level of like, what is he doing? They're not used to this. Kids get in trouble for undressing, obviously. So I had to run over there and get his clothes on, and geez, I didn't expect him to do that. But he definitely did not like wearing his clothes. He didn't really even care who, where, or what was around him. He just boom started taking his clothes off. So that was kind of interesting and definitely something to get used to. So Jude also had what they call is ABA therapy. When you're young, they try to have therapists come over to the house, work on different things. They have goals, they have things like that they try to work on to help him with, one, living at home, and just two, like learning how to do some of the normal things that a lot of us just take for granted, like just being able to grab a spoon and eat with a spoon, and where the bathroom is, how to use the restroom, washing your hands, my gosh, just a lot of those things. So when they're young, they try to bring over the ABA therapy. They want to try to intervene at the youngest age that they possibly can to try to give the kid the best opportunity as they get older, to learn and be able to do some of these things on their own, especially when you have a child that's nonverbal. It can be very difficult trying to communicate and trying to learn like what's wrong with them, because they can't express or tell you what's wrong with them, even when they're, Jude's a teenager and he still can't sit there and tell us what's wrong. Luckily with us, I mean, we've dealt with him and been with him for so long that we learn his cues, and he touches things, he points things, he kind of lets us know, just through, hand movements and things of that nature. But when he was younger, I mean, it was very challenging. And, him not eating normal food and things like that, I was like, oh man, I really saw that kind of as a challenge. Like, wow, he's got to be able to start eating normal food. And I had heard that at one point in time he had eaten regular food. And so it just that he had lost maybe, as time went on, he just got super weird with the texture or something to that nature where he just really started not liking the food. But when I came in his life, I was like, oh man, we're going to go ahead. We'll try to work on food because as he gets older, he's going to need better nourishment, and just drinking these little drinks and stuff. I didn't think that was going to be very good for him. So even though I'm his stepdad, I love him to death and I want to see him succeed. So man, I saw it as a mission for myself. Like, oh, we're going to get Jude to eat. So I used to just sit there and work with Jude. And what I've kind of learned a little bit throughout my time with autism and things of that nature is you can't give up. You got to stay consistent. And sometimes you may have to do something like 15 times and they'll finally do it on the 16th time. But if you give up on the 11th time, and you didn't do it at 12 or 13 or whatever, 14, and you got to the 15th, you could have missed that opportunity. So sometimes it's frustrating. Yeah, they don't do it. They're not, they're not responding to it, but just keep going with it. And I mean, for me and Jude, at least it worked where I just stayed consistent with it, where we kind of started off with a little bit of like baby foods and packets, liquid type things and doing yogurts and things of that nature. The one thing he has always kind of had an addiction for was kind of milk. Well, later on, you find out he's lactose intolerant because the dude was just always puking and his, loose stools, all that stuff. So come to find out, wow, he's like lactose intolerant. So had to cut out one of the things that he absolutely loved, which was milk. So, but throughout time, we were, after, starting off with those little foods, we started introducing graham crackers, granola bars, all those kind of like little bit harder foods and things of that nature. And he really started getting onto that. I mean, now he's, like I just said, we just celebrated his 13th birthday this, early April. And he is now, I mean, at this level in time, he eats pretty much everything we do. Now, he's not a huge fan of a lot of it, and he has his ways of dealing with it if he doesn't like it. And he makes me disgusted sometimes. I mean, if he doesn't want his food, he'll spit it out in his cup. He'll just mash it and throw it, or he'll just keep trying to shove it in his mouth until he makes himself pretty much puke and stuff. So it's just dealing with a lot of stuff. And the other thing with autism is they go through different spurts and different things, and sometimes they break those habits and sometimes they're not. And what I mean by that is they, like, for Jude, the different things he's been into is tapping his fingers like really hard on like hard objects, and you're just like, wow, I can't believe it. He even does like an open fist thing where he hits his open fist on objects super hard. I've done it before, just giving someone an example, and it hurt my freaking wrist. So, I mean, this dude sometimes just is like, bam. So his pain tolerance too is another thing. Is his pain tolerance isn't like yours and I's. That's for sure. He'll laugh at some things that would make a lot of people cry. Now, the other things that he's done, he started headbutting, like objects. I mean, like just bam, bam, anything. I mean, if he was pissed, not getting his way, he would just start bam, like, I mean, headbutting things super hard, headbutting people. So we ended up having to get him a helmet, which for a while he had to wear the helmet every day to school because he was just having major meltdowns. And a lot of his meltdowns are due to things like him not being able to get his way and do things that he wants to do. So, but we put that helmet on. he were like at maybe one whole school year and a half or something. I'm not sure. And then we started, not putting it on, but we put it on his backpack. So if he ever has any kind of issues or anything like that, we can put it on because I mean, when he's sitting there headbutting, it's super hard to where he really like leaves dings and, bumps and bruises on his head. So we definitely try to protect them any which way we can. Now, going back to the whole ABA therapy thing, which we did, I would say about good 5. He did at least 5 years, maybe more of ABA therapy, which was at home. And then he got into a school, which is primarily, I mean, everybody in there is at some level on the spectrum in terms of having autism or Asperger's or, all the different disabilities out there. That all these kids are able to be in the exact same classroom. They got aides to help them. It's a really great school. Well, in that school, they do the ABA therapy, they do speech therapy, they do a lot of the things that we were doing on the outside, in addition to him going to school. And with Jude, he just started getting to a level, and you can see it, where he just started getting super frustrated because he would be in school all day. And then after he get out of school, he maybe got an hour break or something, depending on what day or what time his ABA appointment was. And I want to say we did it a couple times a week, maybe one to two times a week, maybe more. I'm not sure. I don't exactly recall. But they would come to the house, and I mean, there were some days where we'd have to ask them pretty much to go home because he would just shut down and turn into a nightmare. And they basically weren't even able to work with him because he just was like, man, I ain't having this. I don't want nothing to do with any of you. So there was days we were just like having to send him home. And then, after a while, we just like, hey, man, he's kind of getting a lot. And so going to the school where they have it all there, it's really great. So now when he comes home, he can have his home time and he can have his chill time. And he doesn't feel like he's working, because that's kind of what it is. It's, to him, it's working. He's having to do stuff he doesn't want to do. Like, you want me to look at this again? You want me to do this again? No, I don't want to, so I want to watch Puss in Boots, or I want to watch Shrek, or whatever movie he may be on. But as we're kind of getting to talk about movies and stuff now, with Jude, he is very much into movies. He loves his movies, and he loves specific movies. He gets stuck like on Ice Age, Shrek. Gosh, I mean, and the thing is he'll go for, the Chipmunks, as I'm talking, all these things are popping up. But he goes through like spurts in time where he likes something, and he keeps picking that over and over and over. And then like we switch every other week with him. So when he comes back from his dad, sometimes all of a sudden he'll like pick something new, and you're like, oh, all right, dude, we're switching it up, are we? And he'll get stuck on something for a little while. But the other thing that he really had he has a huge fixation for is the iPad. So much to the point that it was kind of like an addiction for him. And if the battery died, anything, like he couldn't have it during a certain point in time. I mean, he would just go down into meltdown city, the headbutting, the bangings, all those type of things that he, would do. He just lose his mind. So here at our house, we basically kind of had to take it away, and we give it to him during special occasions and stuff like that. We don't give it to him all the time. And honestly, it has helped his mental health, his anger, all those things. It definitely was a trigger for him. And it just, we went through our little bit of a struggle trying to remove it and get it out of his day to day. But once we have gotten there and we've done it now, he's really good with, when he gets it, he's like, all right, cool, I get it. And then when he gets it taken away, he's not tripping out. He's not flipping out, because he's just like, well, I was glad I got to have it, I guess. So he's definitely adapting and learning that um, throwing the tantrums and stuff like that is the reason why he's not able to play on it as much. He's starting to very much, as he's getting older, and as I said before, he just turned 13 here at the beginning of April. But as he's gotten older, his knowing and like his knowledge to things is definitely has improved. You can ask him to do things where in the past he would kind of just give you that blank stare and not know exactly what you were asking him. But now you can kind of say, "Hey, dude, go and turn off that light switch," and he'll go turn off the light switch. Or, "Hey, go push in that drawer for me." He'll know exactly which drawer to go push in. He sees the one that's out. Or there's just little things that he's done that in the past he wasn't able to do. Getting himself dressed and stuff like that. He's better at getting undressed. Getting dressed, he still requires quite some assistance. And what else do we got to really assist him with? And going to the restroom is a big challenge still for us. He does understand when to go to the restroom. It's just that we got to make sure that we catch him in time, because he gets to that level. Well, he will play in his own feces and stuff like that. So it can be gross. So we've had to come up and improvise. We've gotten a camera in his room area so we can make sure we can capture him. We put bells on doors so we can hear if he's opening doors. We've had to get creative, we try to keep a 24-hour surveillance and watch on him, but there's times, obviously we got to go help our other kids, or we're getting pulled in this direction or that direction. And, there's been times where we go in there and it's literally a shit show in there, and it just make you gross out. I mean, I'm at the level where I'm just like, babe, I can't. There's just some things I can't do, and handling nasties is not something I can necessarily deal with. But living with Jude, my gosh, what opportunity it is for me to learn. And I've learned a lot from him as well. I've learned a lot about being patient. There's just so many things that we take for granted that Jude always seems to make me appreciate. And also, it kind of with his siblings, I the way that they kind of handle it, they're getting older now. That they're getting older, they're starting to understand. The little one, he'll still ask questions, but he's quite intelligent, the little guy. So he already kind of gets it. Just for a while there, the kids always didn't really understand what's wrong with Jude. Why isn't Jude talking? Why is Jude different than us? And, they kind of didn't understand that. And something we've had to do in our own home is we've had to create a world of, hey, this is Jude's time, and then this is kind of your guys' time. And we specifically try to do things when it's like, all right, this trip is dedicated to Jude. So when we go, it's all geared for Jude. If Jude doesn't want to be there, then we're not going to be there. You all got to just understand that we might leave early, or, you might not be able to have as much fun, if you were able to just go run off. So we always got to work around Jude. But then we do family trips and stuff like that where Jude has, someone comes and watches him, or he goes off with his grandparents, and we do things specifically and we're like, hey, this is not for Jude. This is for everybody. And now we can stay here. We can, do things. But when things are specific to Jude, it's time for everybody to understand, hey, this is for Jude. Suck it up. You may not like it. You may not have as much fun as you normally do doing whatever we do, but this time it's for Jude, and let's be selfless. Because, for Jude, he's honestly not one that he just goes with the flow mostly now. He used to hate going and doing a lot of things where there was like high traffic or a lot of people, a lot of noises, things of that nature. He used to not be as good with it. He's definitely getting a lot better. Because this year, too, as he's gotten older in school, they started doing fun things like doing where they do walk-arounds and they do field trips, taking them out into the public, all the kids, and so that way they're learning and interacting out in public as well. Because like Jude, he's more where he kind of likes to be in his own world. If you were to literally put him somewhere with an iPad or with his favorite show on, he'd likely just sit there and chill. He does do his pacing around, walking around. Um, so you do got to be careful a little bit sometimes too, because he does like to chew on things. I've literally seen dude chew like through a whole freaking quarter, like damage a quarter. I was like, wow, how does someone destroy a quarter with their teeth like that? You know what I mean? And his teeth aren't jacked up or nothing. But it has been quite the learning experience for myself, for the family, my two kids as well. They never had a sibling, with a disability. So my daughter and my son, they have been very good with Jude. It hasn't been a problem. And the family, we all love and accept Jude, and we all have, come to the realization, hey, Jude has his own things, and we got to be, respectful of him in a lot of circumstances too, and can't just think about ourselves. So, I don't know. I mean, anymore, it's kind of sad, but a lot of families are, touched or have someone in their family that has autism. I know that I went to a buddy's barbecue one time, and every single person there had one kid at least in their family or in their family tree that had autism. So autism is starting to be more and more of a thing, and hopefully we can get ahead of it so there's other kids out there that don't have to go through this, because it is rough to see and hard to watch. I know my wife, she has struggled with it, as that's her son, and for her to have to accept some things that he may never be able to do, it has been really rough. And there's times when she's filling out paperwork and talking about the different things that he can or cannot do, it breaks her heart. And I've had to learn to try to just be there for her and understand that there's times that she's going to be, a little bit mentally unstable due to the fact that her heart's broken for her kid, and my heart's broken for him too, for sure. I just know that we both got to stay strong for Jude and try to give him the best life, the best opportunity that we can. And, we're trying to do everything we can to help him learn and be, basically an independent person for himself, and not have to rely on everybody to do this or that for himself. That's the ultimate goal for Jude is, like I said, make him a totally independent person. And if we don't, that's okay. I've learned to love and accept the fact that Jude may always be with us forever. He may be a part of our household forever. And I have to say that's okay. And I am okay with it, because I love Jude with all my heart. He is now like a son to me, and I treat him as my own son too. My heart is always out there. I'm always, cheerleading for him, trying to help him. Every kind of appointment that we go to, I'm always there, because, some of them are big fights, especially when we go to the dentist. There's times where they've had to literally tie a dude down and put him in like almost a straitjacket and just try to sedate him and everything, and the sedation not really work. I've seen him, lose it and be just out of his mind, and it's a real rough thing to see. But I'm glad that I can be there for my wife. I can be there to help her. I know, it's a lot harder for her to have to deal with some of those situations. And she's also been severely attacked by him during a drop off at school one time, where he viciously attacked her, bit her, left major marks on her arms, really hurt her. And from that time, she kind of had a little bit of some PTSD from him and was kind of scared of him, to be honest with you, for a little bit. So, I'm glad that I can be there for her. I'm glad that now I'm at a level where I can try to be there and help when we go to different appointments and stuff like that he has to go to, and like he struggles with. But I think that, also he's starting to get comfortable with me being there with him. And, he's starting to get so much better with so many things. We've just, it's crazy to see how far we've come. And it just makes my heart happy to see that Jude is, even though sometimes it may just be the smallest little gain, it's a gain, and it's a happy gain for each and every one of us when we're like, wow, Jude can do that, or Jude can eat that, or, he did this today or whatever. And it's like, hell yeah, yeah, he did. And we know he can do some of these things. Sometimes I honestly think he just is like, I'd rather you do it for me, because I've watched him do things where we're like, well, I didn't know he can do that. Well, he sure can. But, it's just something that everybody take the time, learn, educate yourself. Know that there's people out there that sometimes they look normal. And Jude, you can, if at first sight, if you probably looked at him at first, you're like, oh, he just looks like another little kid. But if you try to interact with him, start trying to socialize with him, and if you were to really watch him for a long period of time, you would be like, wow, he's got autism, or he's got something going on with himself. And we took him to Universal Studios this past, it was actually yesterday. And well, when this comes out, it will be this last week, but we took him to Universal Studios. First time kind of taking him out we've taken him to Magic Mountain, and he kind of didn't really do well with that. But we took him to Universal Studios. He had a really good time. We keep this thing, which is called like a Keen's, and it's kind of like a wagon. And we put Jude in there. And I tell you what, it's kind of crazy the looks people kind of give you. Like, why is he in there? Stuff like that. If you're one of those kind of people and you're passing judgment on an older kid and he's in a stroller, or maybe he's holding something like an iPad or a phone, don't be so quick to judge, okay? Because you don't know what kind of mental disability that child may have. Autism doesn't always necessarily look like a person with some kind of deformity or something like that. Autism, there's some people out there that are super high functional autistic kids that you wouldn't even know that they were autistic. But just make sure before you're out there judging people, be careful of what you're judging someone on. You never know that situation. And I've learned so much myself from, like I said, being put in this position, living with someone and actually having to walk a mile in someone else's shoe. What a different life it is actually living in it than, watching it. But anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching the show. We're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I hope you guys are having a great week, a great month, whatever it may be. Don't let it kick your ass, but kick its ass. Until next time.